Right now, as you're watching this, there are casinos on the Las Vegas Strip that are technically insolvent. They keep the lights on, they keep the slot machines spinning, they keep pouring watered-down drinks. But behind the velvet curtains, the balance sheets tell a very different story. We're not talking about struggling. We're not talking about having a rough quarter. We're talking about billions of dollars in debt, negative net income, and corporate structures so toxic that even Wall Street analysts are calling them ticking time bomb. These are the 7 Las Vegas casinos that are secretly bankrupt, and the numbers don't lie. To understand how a casino can be bankrupt while still operating, you need to understand one word: leverage. In the old days, a casino owner built a property, filled it with gamblers, and pocketed the profits. Simple. But starting in the 2000s, Wall Street discovered something. You could buy a casino with borrowed money, strip its real estate into a separate company called a REIT, a real estate investment trust, and then force the casino to pay rent on the building it used to own. Think about that for a second. The casino now has to pay rent to itself. Except it's not really itself anymore. It's a separate company owned by different investors who only care about one thing: extracting maximum rent every single month, no matter what. This is the financial trick that has quietly bankrupted some of the most iconic properties in Las Vegas. The casino looks fine on the outside. Tourists still walk in. But financially, it's a zombie, already dead, just hasn't stopped moving yet. Let's start the countdown. Number 7. Circus Circus, the $825 million zombie. Circus. Circus was once the family-friendly heart of Las Vegas. When it opened in 1968, it was revolutionary. A casino where you could bring your kids, the Adventure Dome, the circus acts, the Midway Game. For decades, it was one of the most visited properties on the entire Strip. Today, Circus is drowning. When Phil Ruffin bought the property from MGM Resorts in 2019, he paid approximately $825 million. But here's the problem. The property was already decades behind on maintenance. Guests report mold in the bathrooms, broken elevators, stained carpets, and a general atmosphere of decay that makes a roadside motel look luxurious. The Adventure Dome sits half empty most days. Restaurant revenues have cratered, and the casino floor, once packed shoulder to shoulder, now feels like a ghost town on weekday afternoon. But the real killer is the math. Circus. Circus sits on 68 acres of prime strip real estate. The land alone is worth more than the operating business, which means the smartest financial move isn't to fix the casino, it's to demolish it and sell the dirt. And everyone in Vegas knows it. Circus Circus isn't being saved, it's being milked until the land deal closes. Number 6. The Link, Caesar's forgotten middle child. The Link sits in one of the most valuable locations in Las Vegas, dead center of the Strip, right between the Flamingo and Harrah's. It should be printing money. Instead, it's bleeding it. Here's why. The Link is owned by Caesars Entertainment, a company carrying approximately $12 billion in long-term debt. That's not a typo. $12 billion. Caesars' total revenue in 2024 was $11.2 billion, meaning the company's debt is actually larger than its entire annual revenue. And Caesars posted a net loss of $211 million in 2024. They're not making money, they're losing it. Now, within that empire, the Link is the property that gets the least investment. It was hastily rebranded from the old Imperial Palace in 2014. The rooms are small, the finishes are cheap, the casino floor feels like an afterthought attached to a shopping promenade. The Link Promenade and the High Roller Observation Wheel generate foot traffic. Sure, but foot traffic doesn't pay down $12 billion in debt. Caesars needs every dollar from its premium properties. Caesars, Palace, Paris, the Venetian partnership deal. The Link? It's a rounding error on a balance sheet that's already underwater. When the next round of cost-cutting comes, and it will, the Link is the obvious sacrifice. Number 5. Treasure Island, the island nobody visits. Treasure Island, or T, as it desperately rebranded itself, is a case study in what happens when a casino loses its identity and never finds a new one. When Steve Wynn opened Treasure Island in 1993, it was a pirate-themed spectacle. The famous Sirens of T.I. show drew massive crowds to the front of the building every night. It was fun, it was campy, it worked. Then in 2003, Phil Ruffin bought the property for $775 million. The Sirens show was eventually shut down. The pirate theme was stripped away in favor of a generic, upscale rebrand. T.I. became a property that wasn't family-friendly enough for families, wasn't luxurious enough for high rollers, and wasn't cheap enough for budget travelers. It was nothing, and nothing doesn't sell. The property's occupancy rates have consistently lagged behind Strip averages. The casino floor revenue has been in steady decline. And the biggest problem? TI sits on the far north end of the Strip's prime section, close enough to be compared to Wynn and Venetian, but not even in the same universe quality-wise. Phil Ruffin, who also owns Circus Circus, has been rumored to be exploring options for the property for years. And by exploring options, insiders mean he's waiting for the right land deal, because just like Circus Circus, the dirt under Treasure Island is worth more than the business on top of it. Number 4. Excalibur, MGM's $30 night embarrassment. You can book a room at the Excalibur for $30 a night. $30 on the Las Vegas Strip. That alone tells you everything you need to know. Excalibur opened in 1990 as a medieval-themed mega resort. It was the largest hotel in the world at the time, with over 4,000 rooms. But that was 35 years ago, and MGM Resorts has spent almost nothing on meaningful upgrades since. The castle towers still look the same as they did in the Clinton administration. The rooms are small, dated, and frankly depressing. The food court feels like a rest stop on Interstate 15, and the casino floor is overwhelmingly dominated by penny slots and low minimum table games that attract the absolute lowest spending demographic. Here's the financial reality. MGM Resorts generated $17.2 billion in revenue in 2024, but that money comes from the Bellagio, the Aria, the MGM Grand, the Cosmopolitan. These are the properties that get the investment, the renovations, the celebrity chef restaurants. Excalibur? It's what the industry calls a feeder property. Its only purpose is to put cheap bodies on the south end of the Strip who might wander up to Luxor or New York, and spend real money there. MGM doesn't need Excalibur to be profitable. They need it to exist just long enough until they figure out what to build on that land instead. And with the South Strip development plans heating up around the old Tropicana site where a new baseball stadium is being planned, Excalibur's days are numbered. The castle is crumbling, and nobody's coming to save it. Number 3. The Rio, drowning in a $1 billion renovation bet. The Rio was once the crown jewel of off-strip properties. When it opened in 1990, it was the first all-suite hotel in Las Vegas. The Voodoo Lounge rooftop bar was legendary. It hosted the World Series of Poker for 16 years. It was special. Then, Caesars Entertainment neglected it for over a decade. The property deteriorated so badly that in 2007, entire floors had to be shut down after county inspections revealed fire safety hazards from unpermitted renovation. In 2019, Caesars sold the Rio to Dreamscape companies for approximately $516 million. Dreamscape announced a $1 billion renovation plan, a complete transformation, a rebirth. But here's the problem with billion-dollar renovation bets on off-strip properties. The math almost never works. The Rio sits on Flamingo Road, a solid mile from the Strip. There is no pedestrian connection, no monorail stop, no tram. Getting to the Rio requires a deliberate taxi or rideshare trip that most tourists simply won't make when there are dozens of options within walking distance on the Strip itself. Dreamscape is betting $1 billion that tourists will leave the Strip for a renovated Rio. History suggests they won't. The Hard Rock Hotel tried the same play in a different location and eventually gave up and sold to Virgin. The SLS tried it on the North Strip and failed within years. The Rio's renovation may produce a beautiful property, but a beautiful property that nobody visits is just an expensive monument to bad math. Number 2. Sahara, formerly SLS, the casino that can't stop failing. The Sahara has died and been resurrected more times than any property in Las Vegas history. And each time it comes back weaker. The original Sahara opened in 1952 and was a genuine piece of Las Vegas history, a Rat Pack era icon. It closed in 2011 after years of declining revenue. SBE Entertainment bought it and reopened it as the SLS Las Vegas in 2014, pouring hundreds of millions into a trendy, nightlife-focused rebrand. The SLS flopped spectacularly. Occupancy was terrible. The casino floor was empty. The nightclubs that were supposed to drive traffic fizzled. Within a few years, SBE sold the property. The new owners rebranded it back to the Sahara in 2019, hoping the nostalgic name would bring people back. It hasn't, at least not in the numbers needed to justify the investment. The problem is structural, and it's the same problem the Rio has. Location. The Sahara sits at the extreme north end of the Strip, past the point where most tourists bother walking. The Las Vegas Convention Center is nearby, which helps during trade shows. But convention traffic alone cannot sustain a full-scale casino resort. The Sahara is currently owned by the Marullo Group, and while exact financials are private, industry analysts note that the property has never achieved the occupancy rates or gaming revenue of its Strip competitors. It survives, but barely. and barely surviving on the Las Vegas Strip is just a slow way of going bankrupt. Number 1. Fontainebleau, the $3.7 billion beautiful disaster. And finally, the most controversial entry on this list, the Fontainebleau, Las Vegas. On paper, it's the most impressive new casino in decades. 67 stories tall, the tallest occupied building in Nevada, 3,644 room, 173,000 square feet of gaming space. Opened in December 2023 after a saga that took 18 years and $3.7 billion to complete. But here's the thing about $3.7 billion. You have to pay it back. The Fontainebleau went bankrupt once already in 2009 when the original developers ran out of money during the financial crisis. Carl Icahn bought it for pennies on the dollar. It sat as an empty tower on the North Strip for over a decade, the most visible symbol of Vegas excess and failure. When Jeff Soffer and Koch Real Estate Investments finally completed and opened it, the expectations were astronomical, and the early reviews? Mixed at best. Reports surfaced almost immediately about overpriced rooms, empty casino floors, and a general sense that the Fontainebleau was charging win-level prices without delivering win-level experiences. The property sits on the far north end of the Strip, that same cursed location that has killed the Sahara and SLS before it. The hotel has 3,644 rooms to fill every single night. At those prices, in that location, with that much debt, the numbers have to be absolutely perfect. And in Las Vegas, the numbers are never perfect. The Fontainebleau is the most beautiful casino in Las Vegas. It might also be the most financially fragile. And when $3.7 billion is on the line, fragile is just another word for doom. Las Vegas sells a fantasy. The lights, the spectacle, the promise that anything can happen. But behind those lights, the real game isn't happening on the casino floor. It's happening on Wall Street. Private equity firms, REITs, and corporate holding companies have turned Las Vegas into a financial extraction machine. They buy the casinos, strip the real estate, pile on debt, cut maintenance, raise fees, and squeeze every last dollar out of properties that were built by visionaries and are being destroyed by accountants. The 7 casinos on this list aren't failing because people stopped coming to Vegas. They're failing because the financial structures behind them were designed to extract wealth, not create it. And that's the real gamble in Las Vegas today. Not whether you'll win at the blackjack table, but whether the casino itself will still be standing when you come back next year. If you found this video valuable, hit that subscribe button. We're exposing what's really happening behind the scenes in Las Vegas. And trust me, we're just getting started.